Excellent. Very good. So welcome, everyone. My name is Professor Peters, KJ Peters. I have been at Loyola Marymount now for 22 years. I am the current graduate director of the English Studies program here at Loyola Marymount. And with me today are two of our graduate students. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'll go ahead. So my name is Jacob Longini. I am the graduate assistant for the program, so I help KJ out with events like this. And I'm a first year in the program myself, into my second semester, on track for 2 years.
My name is Enriquez. I'm a second year grad student, and my focus is rhetoric and composition. And I'm also a teaching fellow. That's one of the scholarships this program allows students to engage in, and it's been great. I've been able to balance my schoolwork with teaching as well. So that's been great. And if anyone's got questions about that experience, I'm happy to answer.
Marvelous. So our plan for today is we're going to go through the basics of the program. We're going to discuss the 3 different emphases, the time it takes to get through the program, and also the capstone. And then we'll open it up for questions. And don't forget, the reason we have graduate students here is because I imagine a number of other kind of questions you have concern student life, and what it's like to be a graduate assistant or a teaching fellow, and what the course is like. So that's what they're here for. So I was wondering if we could possibly have our guests introduce themselves. Yanni, I hear you are already known by some of us. Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up, everyone? My name's Yanni Verkudiotis. I'm I'm a junior English major from Toronto, Canada, and yeah, I'm just here because I'm not sure what I want to do yet. Post-grad plans. I'm looking to grad school, so I'm just here to see what's up.
Excellent. We're glad you're here. Miss Kristen Wang, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, my name is Kristen. I'm sorry, like, is there anything like specific I should like mention?
Oh, no, just tell us where you're from and your interest in LMU.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in California, and I'm like currently here now. I like in the Los Angeles area. I went to school in the East Coast, but then like moved back. So I've been like in California ever since. And yeah, I'm like really excited about the creative writing concentration specifically for LMU, and trying to integrate that into my research interests as well.
Very good. Glad you're here. Ms. Robles.
Hi, everyone.
Feel free.
Hi, I'm Isabel, and I'm an academic advisor for the Visalia Advising Center. I advise undergraduate students, and I'm here to learn because we do get a lot of questions about the program, and we want to just be more knowledgeable, and then be able to give them information. So I'm here.
Excellent. We're glad you're here. Miss Berlin.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Brianna. I am, excuse my background noise.
Is that a little one?
That is a little one, a very active
Excellent.
little one.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm a graduate of LMU, class of 2013. I actually had a very, very hard time deciding between theater and English while I was there. So my professor from the theater department, he says that I'm basically an honorary English minor because I was just a few credits short of getting my English minor without having to stay longer. I have since gotten a certificate in creative writing from the University of Cambridge, so I'm very interested in the creative writing program as well, and would love to go back to my alma mater.
Well, you're both welcome to come to the alma mater. If you have only one little one there, maybe you have more than one.
Thank you. It's just one. He's just very active and overtired right now.
Oh, well, we're glad you're both here.
Well, thank you so much.
Miss Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Melanie, and I'm a senior English major, and I'm just interested in exploring my options right now and learning more about grad school.
Excellent. Well, you've come to the right place. We're glad you're here. Ms. Davis.
Hi, I'm Deborah, and I actually already started my application for the creative writing, but I haven't finished it yet. So, I'm in here to find out, like, I read about the program. I also talked to you, Mr. Peters. So I've been, asking and doing it, but it looks like something that I'm very interested in and I do want to do. So that's why I started the application. But I am also going back to school after a while. I was in the military for 12 years and worked in some other fields, but want to get a master's now in writing. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do anyway.
Well, that's wonderful. And feel free to ask questions about the application process as well.
Oh, yeah. And I'm in LA. I live in LA.
Excellent. Well, we're very glad you're here. So we're going to get started, but before I do, I also want to introduce Janet, who is from the Graduate Division Office. She's here coordinating and helping us keep on track.
Thank you, KJ. It's nice to meet you all. Thanks for being here.
Okay, so let's begin with Jacob. Do you want to walk us through the program?
Sure thing. I'm going to share my screen on our program website while I talk about some introductory things. Let me see if I can do it correctly. Share screen, desktop.
So glad we won't have to be using Zoom very much anymore.
Can everybody see okay? All right. So this is the main landing page of the English graduate program online. And I figure it's kind of a good map just to sort of talk about the program a little bit. KJ or Louis, feel free to jump in and talk about something that you feel like you have more information on, or just to remind me to cover a certain topic. But yeah, plenty of places to apply within this website as well. So if you're curious about that, here's where you can come for that. I think first thing to talk about are the emphases of our program. There are 3 tracks that you can start off on, and that becomes apparent as soon as you start to apply. You choose one. We have the literature emphasis, the rhetoric and composition emphasis, and the creative writing emphasis. I'll start talking about literature since that's my emphasis. Like the other 2, it's a 10-course, 30-unit program. There are more specific requirements listed on the website here about what level those courses have to be. Everybody in each emphasis starts with the same 2 classes, one in their fall semester, one in their spring semester. So you get to know everybody in your class in the program, in your cohort. But outside of that, there's a lot of elective decisions. So you get to kind of tailor your program to what interests you. Again, I'm doing the literature emphasis, and I'm looking at courses that are studying literary periods or figures more than, for example, creative writing, which somebody in that program would choose more courses tailored around. Yeah, maybe Louis, your rhetoric and composition, yeah? Do you want to talk anything about that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just to echo what Jacob is saying, there's 10 courses in this as well. Everyone starts with the same 2. The 2 that are, I guess, more specific to rhetoric would be, you also pick a particular rhetoric emphasis, and you have basically like courses that are specialized, but after the 2 years, you kind of get to mix and match. And there's also other courses that you get to bring in. So if you have an interest in rhetoric, and if you're not applying for the rhetoric track right now, but you do have interests in there, you get to kind of like dip into it and kind of build whatever classes you want to. So we do have specialized classes for rhetoric as well. Right now, there's a class that's going on called Digital Rhetoric, where you get to specify your interest within that particular topic. So yeah, I mean, you get the same base as everyone else, but you do build your emphasis the way you want to.
And that is a good point. Oh, go ahead.
Could I add? One of our the unique qualities of the MA program here at LMU is that we also offer teaching fellowships, and Louis is a teaching fellow, and they teach first year seminar courses and rhetorical arts courses. And so in addition to the critical methodology class that every MA has to take, and the critical theory course, which every MA student has to take, TFs also take the course, it's called 565, The Theory and Practice of Teaching, Writing, and Literature. And it's a pedagogy course, and it prepares people to teach in the college, even in high school. It's an excellent course, and it's one of those courses where the cohort gets together and gets to know each other. But it's designed to support teaching fellows, but anybody can take it. Should we talk about the creative writing one next?
Yeah, and just to quickly echo something that Louis reminded me of, another thing that's important to understand is you're not only limited to the courses within your emphasis. For example, I'm a literature concentration, but I took a rhetoric course with Dr. Peters last semester in my first semester in the program, alongside the critical methodology course. So even if you're interested in something like creative writing, but you're tailoring yourself towards rhetoric and composition, you can still take courses in all three areas. You just sort of tailor your maybe main course load towards the emphasis that you're focused in. So that being said, I'm not a creative writing emphasis, but I will be taking a creative writing course this summer. And I actually did my undergrad here at LMU, so I've taken creative writing courses with some of the faculty who teach these courses. The one I'm going to be taking is a just sort of general writing workshop, in which I'm going to be producing short fiction and hopefully sending it off to some publications, fingers crossed. But again, 10 courses, 30 units. You're still taking the methodology and theory courses your first year, but then there's, more of a focus on taking writing workshop, craft, focusing on other creative writers. Maybe you would take like an author's course. And yeah, perhaps there'll be other opportunities to talk to creative writing majors, and you can reach out to my email if you want to be put into contact with somebody and just sort of ask questions about the ground level from somebody who's in that emphasis. Let me make sure I got through what I wanted to on that first page.
Should we talk about the capstone, since that's part of the courses also?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead with that? As a first year, I don't know too much about it.
Let me well, it's in your future.
Right.
So unlike in the past, we used to have MA exams where students would sit for a 4-hour exam. We realized, however, that those exams, though they tell us a lot about what a student learned, they didn't really help them stepping into the professional world or into higher education. So we transitioned to a capstone. And a capstone process is at the end of your study, you identify an advisor and a reader, and you develop probably a paper that you've written or a short story or a collection of poems that you begin working on, and you develop that with your advisor and your reader as a capstone project. And the goal with that is, if you walk out of here and when you graduate, not only will you have your degree as a creative writer, you're going to have a packet that you can send, is ready to send to publishers. For example, Abigail Davis, who was with us last year, she graduated. I think she just sent off her first 4 chapters of her novel, and she's shopping around to publishers. So those first 4 novels were part of her capstone. For literature emphases or rhetoric, it is going to be a research paper. And again, the idea is, if you do want to go on to higher education, to a PhD program, you now have a writing sample that is graduate level and ready to send off to a PhD program. Or if you're working in some other fields, the capstone helps you, transition into like being a professional researcher or a writer or a screenwriter or things like that. So it's much more applicable to the world beyond higher education. And also, I think our students benefit from it much more than a 4-hour exam.
And if I can add to that process as well. So the way the classes are kind of stacked, like Jacob said, everyone starts with the same general sort of 3 courses. You have critical methodology and contemporary critical theory. And those are built in so that you kind of get a nice, easy introduction into the program with lenses that you can analyze the rest of your sources. And those can take you through to the end of the program. You also, one of the requirements is a major writer. So everyone sort of builds an expertise on one literary author. And then from there, that's when your specific track gets to take off. So for me, I've got 3 electives, a theory and practice, and then a linguistics, just because I'm in the rhetoric track. But the point of all this is so that they're building ways for you to develop sources and develop an expertise really, and a lens, so that by the time you get to the capstone, you kind of have everything you need, and you work with your professors in an intimate setting to set you up for that very specific kind of expertise send off. So it's all kind of built in a way that leads towards you having really all the knowledge you need to go into the professional world afterwards.
On another note, another way the program kind of builds around sort of that final product, I'm going to look at scholarly achievements. There we are. As you kind of make your way along, it's encouraged for you to not only complete papers for courses and finals, but to kind of take those to the next step and see, are there conferences or journals that might accept those papers? And so you have professors working with you to apply what you're doing in class to outside in the real world. And here you can see some former students, the things that they were publishing while they were in courses. And I can't speak to these people individually, but I imagine some of these people used these publications and tailored them further for their capstone, and maybe, you know, found a new lens or pivoted, and then that became a project that they worked on after graduation. But all along the way, the idea of our program is that the work you're doing in the courses is not just for the courses. Ideally, you're developing as an academic, a professional, a creative writer, whatever it is that you're focused on. Which is
absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Jacob. And I'm eager to emphasize, in the last 20 months, because of COVID, we have not been able to send many of our grad students to as many conferences as we usually do. But the program does have travel funds, which are to be used only by graduate students. And so, for instance, if you propose a paper to a conference, whether it is a research one or a creative writing one, and you get accepted, we help defray the cost of your travel to conferences. Again, it's part of the professionalization that we're looking forward to. And we also have a number of opportunities. For example, one of our professors is his name is Professor Kelly Younger. He is a head writer right now for the Muppets, and I think he has 2 projects with Louis. Do you remember who he's working with right now? He did. I think he's got a Pixar project going on right now.
He's written a few Disney Pixar projects.
Yes, quite a few, and as you can imagine, he's working on some projects and has contracts now that he cannot talk about, which is very frustrating. But for example, he also helps get grad students internships and helps them, you know, shop around scripts and things like that. So we have a number of ways of reaching out beyond the campus for our grad students. Let's see, anything else I forgot?
Just to piggyback specifically on the example of Professor Kelly Younger, we recently had an event with him where he came into our Mastering the Next Step speaker series, which is something we try to hold at least a couple times a semester, especially now that COVID is on the wind down. We're going to try and do it more in person. But the idea is usually getting alumni or professionals in the field from around LA, or current professors, as is the case with Kelly Younger, to talk about how they've applied an English education, either to like academic fields or maybe publishing, but also sometimes like a little bit less fields that you wouldn't expect an English education to contribute to. He's an interesting case because Kelly Younger, again, has worked all throughout Hollywood on tons of projects. He's off-Broadway playwright. And of course, he's done plenty of research to get to the place where he is as an academic. But bringing him on was really interesting to hear from somebody who, again, is involved in the city in a way that's pretty far outside of what I picture when I picture English academia. And it was just really cool hearing from him about how he got his foot in the door in Hollywood and what those kind of meetings looked like and how he distinguished himself. And again, that's not my interest, but this speaker series is another way where you get to hear from a vast array of people that are applying that English education in unique spheres.
is we've had, as Jacob said, we've had speakers from advertising agencies. We've had editors from publishers. We try to bring a number of people on, and Jacob does a good job of organizing that. So we're looking forward to, as he said, more on-campus events. Gentlemen, do you think we should now talk about graduate assistantships and teaching fellowships and financial aid, which is always an important issue?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start that off, and then I'll transfer to Louis for the teaching fellowship. But I am the graduate assistant here for the English department. And so my job is to help the program director, who is Dr. KJ Peters right now, help them run the English grad program. And so it's everything from administrative, emails, scheduling, event programming, but it's also contacting alumni and professionals to bring them onto campus. There's admissions work. There's a tiny little bit of website running and programming. And so it's a really, really kind of multifaceted experience in which, as an English undergrad, I wouldn't say my website skills were my strong suit. But through this position, I've been able to grow a lot of skills that now look pretty impressive on my resume. And I didn't have, even half of them going into this position. And all of this is within the English program, making about $12,000 a year, which defrays the cost of tuition. And then I, balance another job on top of that. And so I'm paying for grad school completely through this position and working and getting great experience along the way. Another option available is the teaching fellowship, which I'll let Louis tell you about.
Well, before we get to the teaching fellowship, let me expand on the graduate assistantships a little bit. The graduate program assistant is just one of the GAs, and graduate assistants, we call them GAs, that we have on campus. We have another one that's attached to the Marymount Press, where that GA works in the publication of books, novels, fiction, works like that with the Marymount Press, which is our local press. We have a GA in library special collections, where they help to archive and collect the special items that we have, such as we have one of the few Shakespeare first folios in the United States. There's, I think, a total of 4 in the US, and I think we have the only one on the West Coast. But the GA for the special collections works with that office, and also part of their work is they produce an installation on a topic of their interest, kind of like the type of installation you'll see at a museum, for example, only it's on a topic of literature or art or work like that. We also have GAs in the dean's office that helps with advising and helps with communication offices. So there's a lot of opportunities there. In addition to the GAs, we have TFs, and we're lucky to have Louis with us, who's a TF right now.
As far as scholarships go and working with universities to sort of craft your expertise in a particular topic, I cannot recommend enough the Teaching Fellow program. Without exaggeration, this has been probably one of the most enlightening experiences of my academic and professional career. Essentially what happens, if any of you are interested in teaching down the line or would like experience sort of speaking and learning with your community, I highly recommend applying for the Teaching Fellow Scholarship. Essentially, or fellowship, essentially what happens is when you enter the program in your first year, you teach 2 classes alongside 2 existing professors. You teach undergraduate students in the first year seminars, and you teach them the basics of writing and how to get through the university, and you give them all of the skills that you need. So not only is it a refresher for you if you've taken a break from school for a while, but it also helps you understand like what the basics of academic and persuasive writing are alongside professionals who walk you through this process. In addition to that, in your first year, if you take on this fellowship, you're required to take a class called Theory of Teaching and Writing with a great professor here we have named Amy Ross. And essentially what happens is you learn the basics of pedagogy. You learn about different teaching theories and develop your own kind of outlook and practice. So that way, when you get to your second year of the program, you teach your own 2 classes of rhetorical arts. So right now I have a class of about 20 students, first years, and they are taking one of your classes, which is a mandatory class for undergraduates. But throughout this program, I think there are maybe 5 of us in total in the teaching fellowship for my year. And then there's around 10 for both years. So in my year alone, we have a really neat group of 5 students who share all of our work together. We kind of help each other, but throughout the entire program, the 10 of us are really close. We go through this program as a unit and really help each other, so you never feel alone if the prospect of going into teaching sounds daunting. But the program really takes care of you. You go through 2 different training sessions, and they give you all the materials you need to succeed. And when you reach the end of your time in the program, you feel like you can actually go and take your experiences teaching these classes and apply them to your interests outside the university. You can apply them to other jobs when you go out back into the workforce. So if you're thinking about, a way for covering tuition while also picking up extremely valuable skills in communication and writing and teaching, I cannot recommend enough the Teaching Fellowship Program. And if you have any questions after this, I'm happy to walk you through it and sort of take you step by step through the process of what that's like.
And let me add, the teaching fellowships are open to all emphases. It doesn't have to be just writing or rhetoric or literature. Anybody who wants to apply will be considered. The teaching fellowship is one of the stars of our program, because not many of the MA programs offer that opportunity. And also, we understand that not everybody's going to go into higher education, or not everybody wants to be a teacher. The TFs are open to anybody. In fact, we find that many of our alumni have benefited from the teaching fellowship in their corporate life. Like some are corporate trainers. Another one found themselves an aviation pilot, teaching pilots how to fly. So that kind of pedagogy and that kind of working with students can apply to higher education, obviously, but also almost any field. All right. I think we've covered all the high points. Should we open it up for questions?
Yeah, sure thing. And I'll just direct everybody's attention here real quick. We talked about the teaching fellowships and graduate assistantships in the various departments. Those are, again, as we said, like an idea. The idea is that you're helping pay for school and getting experience along the way. But being a program that's trying to stay flexible for all sorts of students and recognizing that some people maybe already have full-time work, there are other funding opportunities further down in that same section, scholarships, request forms, and the email for the financial aid department. If you're looking for other ways to get school paid for that isn't necessarily one of these like hours intensive programs.
Yes, there's as you, many of you have already been through college and you're dealing with that already. So there are federal student loan opportunities, there's private student loan opportunities. The university itself has financial aid opportunities, and also our MA program has its own funds that we distribute among grad students. So thanks for reminding me of that, Jacob. Okay, let's open it up for questions if you have any.
I have a question. This is Devorah. So you were talking about the teaching assistantship, and I did read online that if you go that route, you have to submit a financial aid application. Maybe I'm wrong, so that's why I'm here.
Well, no, it's very simple. The application, when you apply to the program, there's some questions they're going to ask you, like, do you want to be considered as a teaching fellow? Do you want to be considered as a graduate assistant? And so on the application itself, you would respond appropriately there. But then we have a simple, I think it's a 2-page program form. And it's one of the links that Jacob showed you there. And that one is sent to me. So for instance, it's a very simple basic form that the graduate director reviews, because the teaching fellowship is considered financial aid.
Okay, so it's just those two. It's not a separate financial aid.
No,
Okay.
it's very simple, and it basically asks you for your information. which of the many opportunities you're interested in. And then, it also asks us, one of the questions is like, how many courses do you anticipate taking each semester? So it's very simple.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Great question. Other questions?
Just a quick follow-up on financial aid questions as well. Anything that you have now, please ask. We're here. Our time is devoted. But in addition to that, if you are having trouble figuring out the forms, KJ and I are very responsive to our email, and this is like largely my job. So please reach out. I can help you figure out which forms you need to fill out. We're a small, close-knit program. We're here to help you figure that stuff out. It's not a scary corporate kind of form, it's us receiving these.
And we're not small, we are right-sized. And while you're thinking of some questions, we'd like to remind you all, March 22 is the deadline for applications, so there's still plenty of time. But we also understand that it's quite common that professors may be a little slow getting letters of recommendation sent in. Keep in mind that once your application is in, if it's in by the deadline, then if a letter comes in late, that's not on you. We'll be happy to review your application. Also, sometimes transcripts move a little slowly, and they do more so in the time of COVID. So if you can only have access right now to an unofficial transcript, please send that in and we'll review that. And we can wait for the official transcript to come in later on. So again, if you have any questions about the application process or deadlines, things like that, feel free to reach out to Jacob or to myself, and we'll be happy to help. Other questions?
I have a few questions.
Please.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, is there a formal process for like if you wanted to work with certain faculty to do research or your capstone? Is there like, what's the process for that, or do you just kind of reach out to them individually?
I'm going to let the grad students answer that. How do you approach professors in our department?
There's a few ways. Like Jacob said, our department's pretty intimate. There's always email, but when it comes to like your research and the actual capstone project, there's a built-in process as well that asks you to reach out to certain faculty with certain deadlines, but you can just email them or knock on their office doors because the university is very open. And because our department is intimate, that's one of the biggest selling points of the university, but this department as well. You get to know whoever you're going to be working with pretty intimately before you even get to your capstone. So it's just a matter of sending out an email or just talking to them, scheduling a coffee date or something like that. But as you go through the program, you'll have a pretty good idea of who you're going to be working with well before the capstone.
Okay, great, thank you. And I guess like kind of going off of that, like you said, the department is pretty intimate. Like how many students are in the program, and also like what's the typical class size?
I can answer that one. Right now, I think we are around 33 students. Some are part-time, a majority are what we consider full-time. And we like to keep it at that size because if it gets much bigger, then our class sizes get too big. Now, our seminar courses of 6,000 level courses, I think the average size there is between 7 and 10. And for our other regular graduate courses, those are the 5,000 level courses, they can be up to 25, but typically they hover around 14.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Which would also explain how you get to know your professors pretty well, because in a small seminar of like 10 people, you're going to spend time talking with them quite a bit. And so that's a great question. And as Louis mentioned, with the capstone, quite often you're going to be turning a collection of poems or some fiction or research paper that you've already worked with a professor into your capstone. And many of the students go to the professor that they studied with under that topic, but you're not limited that way either. You could also reach out to other professors, as Louis has mentioned.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much.
You bet. More questions?
I have actually one question. Again, excuse my background noise.
No excuse necessary. It's good to hear them.
For the creative writing, do you have like a lot of peer involvement where we review each other's work and things like that, or work is shared?
Yes, all of our creative writing courses are workshops.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yep, every single one. So Louis, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I've taken 2 creative writing classes, and I'm in one right now. Essentially, how the workshop format works is you write, and every week you gather and reflect on each other's works and write feedback. So it's very involved with the department. You get a taste for what everyone's doing, and you also get to build up your resume as a writer with the support of all your peers. So it's very workshop oriented.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, we had a question in the chat. Yes, March 22 is the deadline for applications. Again, that's your application. Reference letters and transcripts can come in after that date. Any other questions? Okay,
I
well,
actually have one more question.
yes, please go ahead.
Would you be able to like speak to like your experience with school life balance and like how that's been for you like in the graduate program?
Gentlemen, I think that's directed to you too.
I'll speak to this from my perspective. So I'm working the graduate assistantship, which is basically part-time-ish hours, 18 to 20-ish a week. And in addition, I'm working another part-time job that's about 20 hours. So I'm working full-time on top of my course load, which last semester and this semester I've taken 2, which is usually about the average. Sometimes people do 3, sometimes they go down to 1 if it's a really busy semester. Again, this is kind of like, it's designed to be on track for 2 years, but it's a little bit flexible. There's people who are going to be done sooner because they kind of stacked courses, and then there's people who will be done a little later if they need to slow down for any reason. But yeah, so I'm doing full-time school, full-time work, and I think I was very daunted by that at the start of last semester, especially stepping into this assistantship and not really knowing what the job would entail. But I can say that my first semester went really well. I got A's, I had a great experience in classes, and I found that balancing the time was very doable. I'm having a bunch of fun with my friends too. I graduated a little early, so my friends are in their senior year in the undergrad. And so we're staying busy in Los Angeles, taking advantage of the city. And I really don't think any one sphere of my life suffered at all. Although I'm definitely busy. I'm using my calendar a lot. All my time is filled with extracurricular, school, work. And again, that's my experience as a full-time worker on top of school. So there are people who maybe are a little bit less busy, but I'm finding that it's doable and I'm still doing really well in my courses. And it's been a fulfilling time for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
To add to that as well with the teaching fellowship, I think the way the program is built sort of generally is because you have to take 10 classes. You start with 2 in your first semester and then take 3 the second. And then in your second year, the same thing again. I think you start with maybe 3 and then go to 2 so that you can have some wiggle room for your capstone. But the program also offers summer classes. So if you're having difficulty sort of managing a 3-course workload, along with everything else going on in your life, you can sort of parse that out over the summer so that things are a little more manageable. Taking on, I think last year I had 3 courses, the teaching fellowship, and throughout my time in the program, I've also held other jobs on the side as well. So like Jacob said, it is doable, and you can really sort of tailor your experience the longer the program goes on so that you can work with professors, you can work with some of the counselors in the school to sort of set things up for your success. So time management is definitely a factor in the grad program. You have to be on top of it, but it is absolutely manageable. And yeah, just looking at the question in the chat, Shakespeare on the Bluff is a program that we have over the summer. I did help set that up, I think, in its inaugural year, maybe like three years ago. But it's a program on campus where any student, graduates and undergraduates and professionals kind of come together and they do Shakespeare on campus. I think every summer they do a comedy show and a dramatic show, and everyone who goes to the university is allowed to apply, and it's a fantastic program, and I think it's free to the public as well.
Yep, and we have a brand new stage on campus for that too, which is gorgeous. In addition to making life a little bit easier for those who have jobs outside, we talk about the program as a 2-year program, but the speed that is appropriate for your life is the one that we would encourage you to take. So to support that, all of our graduate courses start at 4:30, and we have 4:30 and 7 o'clock classes. And also, what else was there? Yes, so we work really hard to make sure that, you know, if you want, you could take, we have a number of students who take 1 course per semester, and we also have some students that try to blow through as quickly as possible. So whatever speed works for you is what we're trying to help with. Any questions? Looks like Louis fell off the screen. All right, well, we don't want to take too much of your time. We were thrilled that we had a chance to talk with you and meet you all. Again, you can find Jacob's email on a website. You can find my email on the same graduate website. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. The graduate division also has a wonderful website and can answer many questions such as housing, financial aid, things like that, application process. So if you want to reach out, please feel free. That's what we're here for. And we hope to see you next fall.